This is In Discussion with Denovo. Interviews, insights and advice from industry experts, keeping you connected in the legal community.
Good afternoon, everyone, and welcome along to episode 1 of In Discussion with Denovo. Some of you are joining the Denovo webinar for the first time, so it's probably best if I give you a short overview of what this is and what we're hoping to achieve from hosting these sessions with some of our key partners and people connected to the legal community. Before I do that, I'd like to introduce myself. I'm Stephen Hill, Operations Director at Denovo. And I've spent the last 15 years working in the legal tech industry. I've been responsible, along with my fantastic team, for supporting our existing partners through this difficult period. Our support team have always been working tirelessly with law firms up and down the country to really understand their pain points and give them as much help as possible. I'm delighted to say that the transition has been going very well, and I can't thank the team and our partners enough for the resilience and patience over the past few weeks. I'm here with my colleague, Grant Yuill, Denovo's Head of Marketing and Customer Engagement, and our live guest this week, Ali Thompson, Founder and Director of Hey Legal. Ali qualified as a solicitor in the mid-90s and became a partner in what is now known as the Glasgow law practice. Since the mid-2000s, he's had a particular focus on developing online projects focused around the legal sector. In 2012, he left full-time practice to establish a new online venture, and in 2017, the first company set up in the online world was successfully sold. He is a member of the Law Society of Scotland's Technology, Law and Practice Committee, and is a tutor at Glasgow University Law School, where he teaches legal innovation and technology. In January of this year, he launched a new venture called Hey Legal, a company which has quickly gained traction and a place in the Scottish legal scene. Thank you for joining us this week, Ali.
No, thank you, Stephen, and hi, Grant, and hello, everyone listening.
So the agenda for this week's episode, we've did the Hey Legal overview. Grant and Ali are going to have a discussion. Feel free to send in any questions as we go along, and we can pick them up either at the time or towards the end of the interview. And we will then discuss the future episodes of coming up and what content we've got available, tell you how to get in touch and how to subscribe to the Hey Legal platform, and how to watch this webinar again. I'll now pass you over to Grant and Ali, who will have the live conversation regarding the Hey Legal and Denovo partnership.
Thanks, Stephen, and yeah, I'll just echo your thanks to Ali as well for joining us. I'm really interested in hearing your thoughts on a few of the questions that we've got for you today, and I'm sure our listeners are as well. So I just wanted to kick off really by asking, what was the thinking behind Hey Legal, and why did you set it up?
Well, thanks, Grant. I mean, firstly, I should say I'm still trying to recover from that techno introduction that you've put together. Yeah, well, the thinking behind Hey Legal was pretty straightforward, as hopefully it is around the kind of best of companies. The fundamental aim was to help Scottish lawyers, and we hope to do that in two different ways. One was to make learning a lot easier, and second was to build a community where lawyers could easily share knowledge, experience, and just basically engage with each other. So, as I well know from experience, being a lawyer and running a legal business is really tough. And in order to do it well these days, you need to be great, I would say, at everything, and it's really difficult as you serve clients to be able to look across the practice and every aspect of it and get that really right. But really, you have to do that these days. So key to success is constantly learning and hearing about new things and evolving. And you need best practice across things such as black letter law, as well as technology, well-being, marketing, and so on. So the way of learning about them before we set up Hey Legal was quite disruptive. Learning essentially took you away from clients, it took you out of the office, it was costly. And the market research was it was yet another thing to do, really. So we thought we could modernise that. So we started to build out a Netflix type library of digital content, all to be accessed remotely. Our branding, if anyone's had a chance to look at it, shows people learning when they're commuting or they're at home, at the gym, on their mobile phone. So just basically a time and a place that suited them. If we made the learning easy, then the hope was that lawyers would learn more. It would go beyond just doing required CPD. And out of that would hopefully build better careers, businesses, and crucially help more clients. So that was the kind of fundamental aim. The creation of a community fitted perfectly with that. Currently there is no hub or go-to location where lawyers can easily congregate. I mean, things do take place, but they're in silos where it might be on Twitter or Facebook or LinkedIn. There is no core resource that people can go to share knowledge and insight. And we thought we could establish that as well. And the two things fit together. So if we created the community, we would get insight into the issues that people were discussing. And then we could create content which would hopefully provide assistance with those issues. So really that was the plan. And that was the plan we launched in January, but obviously the world has changed quite significantly since then.
Yeah, I was going to say that because obviously now, given that people are effectively, stuck at home for the most part, the opportunity to continue learning, I suppose the methods in which they can do that and the opportunities to do that, I suppose, are quite limited. So the idea of being able to do that with, sitting in your garden, which is what a lot of people are doing with the good weather at the moment, is fantastic. Just getting the headphones on and being able to do it. So it seems like, although not ideally what you were probably thinking at the beginning, it might actually turn out to be a real positive for a lot of people in the industry who are able to just continue learning.
Yeah, I mean, it just fitted. We'd had a lot of feedback that people just wanted to do this type of thing, to learn easily, small bite-sized learning, and doing it remotely on their phone, etc. At times it suited them. So it just happens to fit with obviously what's currently happened in the world, which is obviously really challenging. So what we decided to do was in the months after January, we were simply just building out our customer base and our content. But as we could see lockdown looming, I took the decision to make all of the content free. So it was originally a subscription model, but I just decided that I would prefer to lift that, offer any paying customers their money back during the free period. And essentially the hope was that the content we had created might help people, might help them learn, might help them just be engaged, thinking about their work and their career. And what we did was we lifted the paywall and we began to create content that was relevant to what was currently going on. So working from home, emergency payments from SLAB, employment law changes, that type of thing. We were very much helped by content contributors, as you can see now on the screen. People from across the legal sector and other related businesses have really been fantastic with their time, and I thank them for that. We've tried to quickly turn around content that helps people, and we release that on podcasts, which are free, obviously, and we use Twitter primarily. The engagement's been great. We've had an awful lot of sign-ups. I think our next milestone will be 1,000 or so accounts being set up by people. And to be honest, it's just great to be doing something positive that hopefully helps in some way during these unprecedented times.
Yeah, but I think it's a really good point. I mean, it's a great initiative to allow people to get access to such beneficial content at this time. I mean, I think now, as we're now entering week 4 of what everything that's going on, you are starting to see, firms themselves actually, doing similar things, whether that's offering advice, kind of free of charge, putting their services online, it's really interesting to see everyone. I mean, that's kind of like, you know, where we sort of got to with the hashtag as well, sort of in this together. I mean, we are ultimately all in this together. We're trying to help each other through, you know, quite a challenging circumstances, but trying to stay as positive as we possibly can, and, you know, helping each other out can play a massive role in getting us through to whatever the next stage of this is going to be. You know?
Certainly. I mean, these are obviously very sensitive times and difficult times. Yeah. So basically, it is a chance for businesses to show the business that they really are. You know, we've seen some businesses get things wrong, you know, Sports Direct or football clubs or Wetherspoons or whatever, where they've made decisions that have just not chimed with the public thinking. And going forward, people will be careful where they spend their money and won't forget those who have got things like that wrong. No, what I would say is the best businesses of all types, and that does include law firms, are all about really community. So internally, the staff feel part of something. There is an internal community. So they're part of the firm, they're part of the profession. And then externally, the customers feel a connection to the business and vice versa. So, and now is really the time to strengthen all of these bonds. You know, we're in a position right now where I think the big issue is around people becoming isolated, you know, either as employees from their employer or as customers from your business, really. Everything's a bit fractured. So we've seen various initiatives recently. Obviously, internally, we've seen lots of examples of law firms rapidly moving to remote working, you know, using technology to maintain a team ethos, using things like Teams and Zoom, Skype for Business, Slack, all of these different platforms. They've found new ways to work and communicate with each other and to collaborate on projects. So technology has been key around all of that, and most of it already existed. Firms had it within their armoury. More often than not, you know, those in the cloud clearly had a distinct advantage. And going forward, that will become the norm. The filing cabinet probably has to become the exception and not the norm. I think in a positive light, every business process will be under review, you know, and previous barriers to change will have been removed. We've seen that with institutions having to quickly dismantle age-old processes to find quick fixes. We'll never go back to the old ways of working. If it's good enough in an emergency, then the question has to be, why isn't it good enough all the time? So it's crucial that employees don't become detached from what's going on in the firm, and that includes those that are still at work but working alone and isolated when perhaps they've been in a team environment, and also furloughed staff who perhaps just are going to feel a step removed from everything that's going on. So communication is key around that, staying part of the profession. Hopefully the Hey Legal forums and content can help with some of that too. I think externally, they should be communicating with their existing clients and database firms, that is, as best you can, not selling, but just contacting, offering help, seeing how people in businesses are. Out of that, you know, may come opportunity, but irrespective of that, reaching out will be noted and remembered by clients. Firms can also look to do good whenever they can, and there may and have been many offers of free assistance across the profession. I think if there's any chances to engage your local community, whatever, then law firms should really try to become a part of that.
Yeah, I think that's right. And, you know, just, you know, I know we had the image there of Mr. Bezos and his comment about, you know, a brand being something that people talk about when you're not in the room. I think that's very apt for at the moment. You know, there is a real opportunity here, I suppose, out of this to, if there is a level of downtime, if we want to go as far as that, say that, you know, engaging with clients, you know, I know that we've been doing it from a Denovo perspective, but, you know, for all firms out there, to be able to just, you know, put a kind of a hand out, just reach out to them, to sort of say, look, we're here. You might not need a service right now, but do you know what? If it comes to it and you do, you know, that might be something to do with employment. You know, I had a friend of mine text me today, you know, if I could speak to someone because they've not been paid in 3 weeks, you know, asking, if I'm not a lawyer, which I know a few, of course. But you're getting that sort of thing. So there are people out there who are looking for support. They just don't know how to get it just now, because I think historically the sort of idea is, right, well, I need to nip into an office, and sit with the person in the suit and sort of have that conversation, which there's other ways to do it. Yeah. And it kind of brings me on to my next point, really. You were a pretty early adopter of legal tech, and someone who is now actively teaching aspiring lawyers about its benefits. So how important do you feel it is that a firm has the kind of right tech in place to maintain during a crisis like this?
Well, I think technology is everything. And the stuff that we do at the university, one of the last weeks I taught there, we had I myself teaching 36 students via Zoom, putting them into breakout rooms, having them collaborate on documents, and they themselves, albeit mostly younger people, were actually working in an environment they really hadn't worked in before. They'd perhaps used it for a chat with their friends, but they hadn't actually drilled down and working on a project, and the feedback has been that they've all really enjoyed that and it works really well. So law firms, I would say, it's not really about access to technology, but it's rather just actually using it. The cloud obviously does help in terms of seamless working from anywhere, but really, when you switch on most laptops, you are essentially able to use a whole host of different types of platforms and software that can really help. I think up until now, most of that hasn't been interrogated because simply people haven't had to. So look how well video conferencing is working. Look at the changes that have been made in relation to powers of attorney, wills being witnessed, etc. Court hearings today are going to be measures rolled out today in relation to civil courts in particular, and ongoing discussions about crime. So the technology's there. It's really more a case of using what you have, really looking at it. I think you, Grant, have used the analogy before about, you can buy software. It's a bit like buying a gym membership. You buy it, it doesn't make you fit. So you've actually got to go and look at it, use it, look at your processes, design your processes to fit with the technology and for what your clients want. I mean, we do know that obviously the biggest source of complaints from the SLCC is around communication. And I think that would be the biggest win, is to look at your technology to see how you can almost relentlessly, appropriately, but relentlessly update your clients for matters that they're obviously very interested in. I don't mean over communicate to them, but the reality of it is that people's expectations have now been shaped by companies like Amazon. So we just expect it to be easy to find what we want, to know the price, to buy it, to be updated about it, and then to pay for it, or whatever stage that is. So the technology does exist to do that, and I think working hard now around all of those minor details will serve law firms very well.
Yeah, I think it's funny when you're mentioning about it's not really been interrogated. Some of the firms that I've spoken to, they're sort of saying we've kind of been forced into this situation to start using new methods of distance communications, if you want to call it that. I've used that terminology before, but I suppose there could be an argument to say, well, if you were, I know you're not being, but if you were forced into communicating with your clients, not being overbearing, but would you do it? And I suppose the way that I've been looking at it is, if you get yourself into that mindset of, well, imagine I was being forced to do this, what would I do?
Yeah. But I think what we'll see here is a bit like the tipping point that we've had with plastic, for example, with David Attenborough, whatever, where suddenly everyone just realised, look, that's obviously really, really bad. We need to do something, and people's behaviours have changed quite radically. And we're seeing that around things like a desire to move to electric cars or whatever, albeit not particularly easy to do, but climate change is very much on the agenda, whereas not so long ago that was thought of as the preserve of the Green Party, and really, something not of great consequence to most people. So technology sometimes has been thought of as something that for some people is just a certain type of person likes that. But the reality is, once everyone starts to use technology and buys into it, that it thereafter makes it very difficult to go back beyond it to say, well, look, let's just default to what we did before. I mean, it's not to say that face-to-face communication is obviously very important and has its place. But equally, there's loads of advantages around working in the way that we currently are. But it does take effort to make sure everyone stays on board and doesn't become disconnected, where they just simply work at their own laptop and feel disconnected from their business or their clients, really.
Yeah, sure. So, in your opinion, then, what should law firms be doing right now to help?
Well, I think they're really simple things. Make it easy to instruct you. Make it easy to pay. Make the invoices clear. Give options around payment there. Create content that goes onto your website that's relevant to the current situation. Use social media effectively, just so that you're basically telling people that you're open and all of your services can still be provided in some sense. I mean, we're very invested in the legal sector and understand what's happening, but people right now might think that they can't do a lot of legal things, where in fact they can. So I think, it comes down to using technology to a degree to communicate with your clients. There'll be a database of clients that most firms will have. You can communicate with them in an appropriate way, and it's just a touch point. It shouldn't be intrusive, clearly, but it should just be a case of saying, look, we've evolved, we're here, the legal sector continues to operate, and we can help you. And people will have needs. Maybe right now we've all been jolted to such an extent it's hard to actually do a lot of things, but people will have to obviously just simply go on with a lot of things and will look to engage professional service firms of all types, really.
Yeah, we're releasing an article over the next day or so which talks about isolation, and it's everything you're saying. It's really about getting to really know your client, to kind of create a relationship built on trust, isn't it? And as in they trust you because even if it is because of what's happening now, you care about them as people. So, how much more powerful is it going to be if you just give them a call or even just send an email for no other reason than because you genuinely just want to see how they're doing? I think that kind of conversation can have a lasting impact. I know that, here at Denovo, we found it to be priceless when it comes to, I suppose, securing loyalty from clients. It seemed like such a small act, almost kind of insignificant, but, you could take someone at this present time, you could take someone's average day and have it's giving them like an added burst of kind of unexpected care.
Yeah.
And that could be enough to drastically affect someone who's living in isolation. Yeah. And potentially, doing that on a regular basis, it's a great way to show that you just care as a business. And it goes back to what you're saying about kind of brand building and, your brand doing the right thing. You just set yourself apart from others, doing something that's maybe against the grain, that's maybe not what you would normally do, but we're not living in normal circumstances at the moment. So it might be an opportunity to do something a little bit different.
I mean, it's going to be really tough for quite a long time. Obviously, post-lockdown, things are going to be difficult. There's a fairly dire economic forecast and things. But equally, we've had recessions before. This is obviously perhaps a completely different scale and of a different type. But businesses can survive and come out of these things stronger in due course. But, the ones that engage fully with their customers and their staff are probably best placed to do so. So as it says here in Mike Tyson, everyone's got a plan until they're punched in the face. So everyone listening here, their firm will have had a plan, but this currently is the punch in the face. So I think it's a case of, like, can you get back up off the ropes? And obviously that's what everyone expects everyone to do. You have to get back up and go again. So It might mean inefficient ways of working no longer be tolerated, and we'll all think differently about how we work and spend our time and money, but just everyone needs to adapt to a new reality, and I'm sure that is what will happen, and there's always a need for professional legal services.
Yeah, no, I think you're absolutely right, and you know, something you've mentioned to me in the past, you know, with, you know, through our collaboration with ThomsonHey Legal, has, and I suppose it's really now part of Hey Legal's whole kind of ethos, is that the idea that lawyers do great things all the time, you know. So whether it's, you know, helping people achieve things like their own property, setting up businesses, you know, protecting their families, whatever it may be, you know, right now anyone listening can help many people in need, their community, and then beyond, and then the days of normal trading, they will return.
I mean, I think the reality of it is, Grant, that, you know, in the days just around lockdown, the amount of work and effort that the profession will have put in to help people who, just choosing an example, were in the midst of moving house. You know, the profession will have looked after those people. The customer service standards are really, really high. And yes, law firms do great things, and you know, I think out of that we can remain positive and see a way ahead.
Yeah, absolutely. No, I totally agree. If businesses get it right now, hopefully come out of this renewed almost, and able to shape their future a bit. So that's what we're all hoping for. Ali, that's been brilliant. Really, really interesting. Hearing from you, fantastic insight. I'm sure that everyone listening now and those who'll tune in to listen to the recording will benefit greatly from what we've discussed this afternoon. So honestly, thank you very much for.
Well, pleasure. Thank you
for doing that for us.
So Ali is available for a chat anytime, so feel free to drop him a line. His email address is on screen, as is his Twitter handle. If you have any questions about this session or anything else to ask him about introducing Hey Legal into your practice, then do get in touch with Ali. And you've seen the content available on his website, which we shared earlier on. Next week's episode will be in discussion with Amicus. We'll be chatting about what they do and how they can help firms save time and money in the short, medium and long term. This episode has been recorded this afternoon and will be available to watch on our website within the next 24 hours, which you will get a link to view the session again. That's the end of the very first episode of In Discussion with Denovo. I'd like to thank Ali and everyone listening for joining us this afternoon. And finally, I would like just to say stay home, stay safe, and enjoy the rest of the afternoon. We'll see you next time for more discussions with Denovo.
Thank you.
Thanks, Steve. Cheers.
Thank you very much.